Hello Newegg fans, my name is Will, and like many of you, I enjoy building computers. In fact, some of my previous builds have showed up on major blogs and even in magazines. And that's why today, Newegg has invited me here to the Newegg YouTube channel to share with you my latest build, a computer that I call the Black Dwarf. The Black Dwarf is a computer that I designed and built primarily to store large amounts of files on my home network. As you can see inside, it's got 8 2TB Western Digital green drives, and in addition it is a full computer system with a Intel Atom N270 based motherboard. So to a lot of people, 2 TB seems like still a lot of data, but I work a lot in digital video, and sometimes projects alone can be over 1 TB. So what I wanted was just one big drive that I could back up all that, and in addition, of course, a collection of movies and music and all that stuff. So this system is running Windows 7 with the 8 2TB hard drives in a RAID 5 configuration. You can see here in the back of the system it has all the ports you expect, 2 USB ports, a gigabit Ethernet port, S-Video and DVI video outputs, and of course power connector as well. And in the front, I've also given it an extra pair of USB ports to easily plug in portable hard drives to back stuff up, or thumb drives or whatever. And I've also put this matrix orbital front panel display, which will be configured to show various system information, because this system is intended to run headless and will be controlled through remote desktop. On the top you can see the power button as well as a secondary latching switch, which allows me to turn off the hard drives and run the system just without them, which occasionally I may want to do, as well as LEDs to show the health of the RAID array. Now if I go ahead and pop open the back here, you can see that a majority of the computer components are housed in this little back portion of the case. You can see I have a very small motherboard. This is a 3.5-inch motherboard. It's almost, I'd say, about half the size of a ITX motherboard. So it's a very small motherboard. And this one has a PCI Express X8 slot, which I used and filled with a Hi-Point RAID card, which of course controls the 8 hard drives. I also have a 320 GB Western Digital black drive. This system will again be running 24/7, also running like BitTorrent. So an extra hard drive to run that, as well as behind it there's a 30 GB OCZ Vertex series SSD for the operating system. And to cool the whole thing, there's a Solitary Scythe 120mm fan. This particular fan is actually only 10mm thick compared to the normal 25mm to fit it in this case, and the whole case was designed to channel the air past the components and 3.5-inch hard drives, and the air actually enters through some vents that I cut at the bottom of the case. Again, by choosing those 5400 RPM green drives, the entire system runs only on about 90 watts of power, and this 120mm fan by itself does the job of keeping everything at an acceptable temperature. So the entire project was about 100 hours of work. As you probably guessed, the system was made completely from scratch. These main exterior panels were made from steel sheet metal. A lot of aluminum was used for the rails that hold the hard drives in place, as well as these more detailed pieces like the front panel, which has this display and these buttons, as well as the back panel, which has the connector ports, which needed more detailed work. I use aluminum because that's much easier to work with. The top panel right here, this plexiglass panel, is a material called Lexan, which is a really great, easily machinable, clear plastic that was used, and I can cut these beveled edges to fit the body perfectly. So why don't we go ahead and turn the system on. Immediately you can see the RAID status LEDs light up. So here we go again. We have Windows 7 right now running. I may look into other options like FreeNAS or something like that. down the road, but here you can see the 30 gigabyte OCZ Vertex Series SSD, the 320 gigabyte Western Digital black drive, and of course the 8 2 terabyte green drives, which are configured again in RAID 5. I wanted a little bit of redundancy in there. And you can see 12.7 terabytes of usable space is what I get. And I'm already using up a big chunk of that. Again, it's sort of a software RAID setup, but writing files I get about 85 megabytes per second write speed, and reading I get about 265. So again, it's fast enough to work with the gigabit Ethernet, which is what I'm going to be using mostly to access the files, as well as the USB and all that other stuff. Doing that constantly for about 12 hours, transferring files with the processor running about 90% and all the hard drives running. The processor and the hard drives all stay pretty cool with that single fan. And that's about it. The entire process was actually filmed from start to finish, which includes everything from my pre-production sketch to unboxing the parts, cutting the metal, and finally wiring the entire system. And you could check that out by clicking on the link on the screen. And I do want to thank Newegg for providing a lot of the parts for this build, as well as for having me here to the Newegg YouTube channel today to share it with you. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.